What is up everyone, welcome to today's video. My name is Peedy and today we are going to take a look at the patch 10.4 notes for League of Legends. It's a very big patch with a lot of changes in them. Some of them will definitely affect the meta in my opinion, pretty drastically. I will try to keep it as short as possible, but I also want to cover every change in there. So it might end up being a little bit of a longer video, but please bear with me because I'm trying my best to not make it overly long and unnecessarily long. So let's see, is the meta going to change? Are we going back to the boring tank meta? Is Soraka top lane still throwing bananas in your face? And is Afilias still broken as hell and will just 1v9 the games? Let's find out. Before we do though, I have one small request to you guys. This channel is very new. I usually stream on Twitch. I'm a variety gamer and streamer, so I don't only stream/play League, but I stream a bunch of stuff, like all kinds of games. And also this YouTube channel is not just going to be League content, it's going to be a variety of other games as well. But League is definitely going to be a big part of it. If you end up enjoying the video and if you learn something from it, you would help me out a ton if you would hit this video up with a like, maybe share it with your friends, comment down below. And if you're new to the channel, obviously it would help me a lot if you would subscribe and if you would hit the bell to be notified for future uploads. And all the links to my social media, my Twitch and my Discord are in the description below. But having said that, without further ado, let's dive right into the patch notes. Well, we're starting with a bug fix to Trundle, who apparently Riot instantly broke the game because the Trundle pillar was able to damage his own teammates when they displaced them. They luckily fixed that right away, because that's obviously a pretty game-breaking bug. So that's a good job on Riot's part here. The first thing we see, like in every patch, because Riot needs more money. I mean, clearly they don't have enough money yet. They need more money. They need all of our money. So there we go. New additions to the Blood Moon skin line. I mean, I personally like the Blood Moon skin line. I mean, some of the skins are very nice. We see Tryndamere, Katarina, and Master Yi. I think of all these, I like Katarina most, actually. But, I mean, really, Katarina has so many skins. He as well. We need that Ornn skin. Like, please just give me that Ornn skin. I've been waiting for so long. So, yeah, I mean, if you have some RP to spare, go ahead, buy one of these skins. I will not be buying them because I don't really play any of these champions. They're not really on my list. But they look nice. You know, absolutely. First up, first champ, Amumu. It's our favorite sad little mommy in the jungle who just wants to make some friends. And with these patch notes, he will definitely make some friends or enemies, depending on which team he is in. Two things are being changed. His Q, his bandage toss, and his ultimate. First thing, the bandage toss will get an increase in his dash speed from 1350 to 1800, which will make it a lot faster for him to lash onto his target. Most of you probably know, if Amumu presses Q on you, it almost feels like he's coming at you in slow motion and you have 10 minutes to decide what you're going to do. No longer, he's going to be a lot faster and do more damage that way. Also, his ult now has a lower cooldown at early levels, and it will now stop dashes. These two changes combined will make it so certain champions can't just dash away, like a Talon, for example. You will most certainly, it's pretty much unavoidable, if he has ult up, he Qs you and he wants to combo you with a QR, it will absolutely hit you. These two changes are really good for Amumu because they already buffed him in the last patches. They buffed the cooldown on his bandage toss. And combined with the Cinder Hulk and Barmy Cinder changes that are coming in this patch, they will be highlighted later on in this video. Amumu actually looks like a very strong jungler, absolutely. So he's very easy to play and very easy to learn. So if you want to learn the jungle role and you're looking for an easy champion that is really good, he can do a lot of damage, he has CC, pretty much has a lot of things that you want, definitely consider picking up Amumu. Or if you're auto-filled and you don't really know what to play, I mean, just play the mummy, it's fine. The only weakness he still has, or like one of the weaknesses he still has, and that didn't change in this patch, his early clear is very weak. He's very vulnerable being counter-jungled and being invaded on. But once you hit level 6 and you get those upgrades on your Barmy Cinder and on the Cinder Hulk, he will have a very fast clear. He will do a lot more damage. And consider playing him like in low elo or in normal games with like full AP, full damage. He will do a lot more damage now, so that's it's going to be super fun. and very nice to play. Next up, Afilias. I mean, we all know it. Afilias hit the rift and he was just broken. I don't even know why this champion exists. I don't know what Riot was thinking. They probably wanted to make something very cool and they had all these ideas and were like, put all of it in this champion. He has like 4 different weapons. He has like all these different things and yeah, he has a high skill cap. And on paper, maybe it sounds good, but you know, in practice, when it came to the rift, he was just broken. They nerfed him several times, but he still feels way too strong and broken. I think the problem is a lot of players just don't really know what he does. It just feels like he presses a bunch of buttons, hits you with a bunch of abilities, and you take a look at your health bar and you're like, where the fuck did my health bar go? What on earth just happened? What even happened? You look in the dev recap, you see all these things, and you're like, okay, sure. So Riot is taking another stab at bringing him back a little bit more. So some of the changes they're making. First of all, players can now see both guns Afilias is holding next to his health bar. That is definitely going to help with with some clarity, because it's no longer a surprise what he's doing next to you, because you can now see which weapons he has, and if you know him and if you know what the weapons do, you can prepare a little bit better for what he's going to do next. So that's actually a very nice change. Then they're changing the equilibrium. The base attack reset is being removed. So basically what happens now, instead of having 2 attack resets, you only get 1, which is a pretty good nerf, because before he was able to straight up assassinate you by, I don't know the exact combo because I don't play Afilias, but it was like auto attack, Q, auto attack, reset, auto attack, I think. Maybe I'm saying this wrong because I don't play him. Now it's just, as far as I understood it, auto Q auto, and that's how it will go, but it's still a pretty good nerf. Then Crescent, the chakram, they're changing a couple of things. First of all, the base attack number goes from 4 to 3, so basically the turrets will do less attacks. And the amount of damage you deal to the sentry turrets is also going to be increased, both for AoE as also for single target. So they're going to do less attacks, and you take less attacks to kill them. So that's really good. And they also no longer occasionally die upon being activated. So that's not a hard fix. And the ultimate range is being lowered from 1600 to 1300. Overall, some pretty big nerfs, I would say, which definitely would make him weaker. I don't feel like he's going to be broken anymore. He's going to be toned down quite a lot. And it's going to be a lot easier to play against him now because he just does less damage, and he has lower range. So overall, I think this is really good on Riot's behalf. I think he's still strong. He's not going to be super weak. He's just not broken anymore. So maybe this is even a good chance for people to pick him up, because honestly, on low elos, people still don't know what he does. So if you want to learn him now and pick him up, because he's not going to be like permaban every game anymore, you can still definitely stomp games with it. And I'm pretty sure on low elo, you can really have success with it. So that might actually be a pretty good thing to do in this patch. Let's move on to the Dragon Aurelion Sol. One change to him, the W, when he presses it, so the active, when his stars expand, the total damage is increased by 40%, down from 50. It's pretty decent nerf because his main source of damage is his W. So, that gets toned down a little bit. So he's going to shred you down a little bit slower. But he's still a good champion in a way, because he obviously can still do roams. Roams are one of his strongest points. He can travel them out really fast. He's been like sleeper OP for a couple of patches. He has a good win rate, and people that pick him up and that can play him well, especially in high elo, really can destroy with that champion. So it's probably a good nerf, but if it's going to affect him a lot, I don't know. I'm not so sure. Let's go on to the Sheriff Caitlyn. Basically, she was one of the strongest AD carries at the beginning of this season. Definitely, absolutely super strong. And the changes they did to the traps and to the headshots and the attack moves actually have hurt her quite a lot. So they gave her a small buff already. This patch, they're giving her another buff. Bonus attack speed at level 1 goes from 10 to 20. This is a pretty big buff, and I think this is definitely gonna bring her back to, maybe not to old strength, but definitely is going to make her a lot stronger. And I think she's in my opinion, probably one of the strongest AD carries again in the game. She's also pretty easy to play overall, I would say. So yeah, she has nice range, so she can be pretty safe in lane for people that are not as good at AD carry. So definitely pick her up, I would say. Next up, Garen. Garen as well, obviously beginning of the season, he was like super strong, like borderline broken. He was banned a lot. He was so annoying to play against. He's super easy to play, super easy to pick up, and it just felt like there was no counterplay. He just walks up to you, he silences you, he just spins on you, and then he just presses his ult and you just die. Not fun to play against. They toned him down a couple of patches in a row with some nerfs. Now I feel like he's in a very good spot. I feel like they did a good job. Apparently, Riot is like, nah, we need to buff him again. No idea why, but there we go. Buffs are to his Q. They are just straight up buffing his attack damage ratio from 0.4 to 0.5. I mean, it's nice. Q is something you use a lot in wave clear and trading and all-inning, you know, so it's just a nice change overall. Then they're changing his W. At max resistance from enemy kills, you now get increased bonus armor and magic resist by 10%. That's insane. That's basically like the conditioning rune. He basically gets a free conditioning rune in the resolve tree in his kit now, which it just blows my mind. I don't know I don't know what they're thinking. Then the shield also gets changed from 0.1 maximum health to a flat amount plus 0.2 of his bonus health. That also is a buff. So if you build a bunch of health, that's going to be a buff. Until you reach the later stages and you have like loads of health, then it's going to be a slight nerf. But still, I mean, most Garen players don't build that much health to begin with. So he is definitely going to be pretty strong again, especially since we're going to see one more change later on for the, you know, jungle Garen changes, which I will highlight in a little bit. They will make his clear stronger, so if he wants to steal jungle camps, you know, that gets even better. So overall, I think he's going to be a very strong top laner again. Moving on to Nara. Nara got some buffs here and there. They really want to get him back into the meta because he's a pretty weak champion overall. I don't really play him, but, you know, many people find him very fun to play. What they're doing is the movement speed gets increased by 10, so he's just overall a bit faster. The bonus movement speed, though, in his mini-Nara form is being reduced, as you can see, from 1030 to 0 to 20, from levels 1 to 18. The big thing, though, his ultimate is getting a massive buff, as you can see, from 0.2 attack damage ratio and 0.5 ability power to 0.5 attack damage and 1.0 ability power. I've been reading a little bit about this change. People don't really know what this ability power, what's up with that, because, I mean, you don't play AP now, that's not a thing. So many people are not quite sure what's up with that, if they want to, like, push some kind of niche builds. Some people have been suggesting building a Rage Blade on him. I don't know, I don't play now, and I don't really know how it will plan out. I guess we will see what the high elo players and pros do with this. But definitely the changes are nice, and they're going to make Nara absolutely a lot stronger. Yep, and he can be very fun to play as well, top lane. Jayce, some small buffs. His mana and his mana growth are being increased a little bit, 357 to 375. Mana growth goes from 37 to 45. And the Q-based damage to the skies is being upped a little bit. Jayce is one of these picks at like low and mid elo is like really bad, and he's doing pretty decently well on high elo because people that are really good with him or really good in general are able to make it work. And now he just has a little bit more mana to trade a little bit more, you know, which can help him. And his all-in combo does a little bit more damage. How much is that? How much is going to affect the meta and his stance in the meta? I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like he's going to be a lot better for people on low elos, and for high elo, I mean, I don't know. It's probably not, the change is too minor to really have an impact, in my opinion. Moving on with Lux. Lux. She's getting a Q buff. Yep. This is obviously aimed at Lux support. Lux support was falling down a little bit again, and this change is definitely going to push her back into the meta again as a support. What they're doing is they upping the base damage, they're dropping the damage ratio though by 0.1, and they are lowering the cooldown at early levels. So, you know, Aftershock Lux, it's back. I mean, Lux support in general is definitely back, but after Shook Lux obviously was the stronger build, technically. And for mid lane Lux, I mean, this is not really going to have a big impact, you know. She has a little bit lower cooldown. Her damage ratio, so in late game, her Q is going to do a little bit less damage, but let's be honest, her Q is not really her main source of damage anyway, right? Especially since her E does so much and her ult is just shredding people. Talking about her ult, she now finally can cast Flash while casting the Final Spark. And it will work a little bit like Azrael, for example. So she will channel her ult and she can still flash, but her ult will shoot from the position it was initially initiated from. So, but at least she is not a sitting duck when she ults and can just be picked off because she's standing there for like what, a second, 1.5 seconds, casting a laser. So that's some pretty big changes to her, and definitely going to make her a lot more picked in bottom lane. And yeah, for mid lane, like I said, I don't really feel like there is anything going to change majorly. Moving on, Rammus. He gets two things. His attack speed base and his attack speed ratio get increased. As you can see, 0.625 to 0.656. This basically means 5%. It's a pretty nice buff for him. This is going to make his, especially his early clear a lot faster. Or his clear in general a lot faster. Together with the Cinderhulk changes that are coming later in the patch notes, he will be a stronger jungler. Still, there are a lot of other junglers that are better at what they do. So, honestly, he still, in my opinion, remains a niche pick against certain comps with like heavy AD or as a direct counter to Master Yi, for example, you know. So, but overall, you know, it's some nice little changes to a little ball in the jungle. Moving on to Singed. Singed, obviously, very strong pick, very obnoxious, very difficult to play against. He doesn't have that many counters. It's just such an annoying champ to deal with. What they're doing this patch, they're toning him down a little bit. His health is going from 610 to 580, and his armor from 37 to 34. What this is going to do is, you know, his early game is going to be a little bit weaker, not a whole lot, but a little bit, especially against AD champions, especially against ranged AD champions, who will be able to bully him a little bit more. But once you go into mid and late game, this obviously is not going to make any difference whatsoever. So this might make it a little bit easier to shut him down early and hope he doesn't scale into the late game and he doesn't get to proxy farm entire waves and just gets out of control. But overall, I don't know. I'm not sure if this is really the change that is going to push him out of his good position. Next up, Sona. As we all know, probably Sona and Soraka, the top laners with the highest win rate in the last patch. They are destroying solo lane Sona. So top lane and mid lane Sona is pretty much dead because what they're doing, they are upping the mana cost flat on every single level for her Q, W, and her E, as you can see, 50 to 70 to 75, 95, and the same with everything else. She already is very mana hungry, especially at the beginning. Everyone that plays Sona probably knows that in the first couple of levels, it feels like you cast like 4 spells and you completely you're completely out of mana. And, you know, adding 25 mana on every spell cast on top of that is going to make her absolutely just unplayable in solo lanes. To compensate that, though, they're doing a change, because otherwise this would also hurt support Sona. To compensate for that, she now gains 30 mana when she tags an ally with her aura. So when she uses QWE and her aura around her hits a champion, a friendly champion, she will get 30 mana back. So, you know, if you look at that, she uses 25 more, but she gets 30 back. So actually, it's a small buff for support Sona, because, you know, there's a 5 mana difference you gain. It's just a small buff, but I mean it's a buff nonetheless. So, you know, it's a nice little change. Not that it's going to make a big difference, but if you add that up over a couple of spellcasts, and eventually it's 1 additional spellcast, right? So that's pretty nice. Oh, and there we go. The banana lady, the obnoxious top lane pick, Soraka. Whew. They're doing a lot to her. They're doing some base stat things. So they increase her health, but her health growth gets decreased. So in the late game, she will have less health. They increase her mana, but they're gutting her mana growth, so also she will have less mana in the late game. And they're rounding down her attack damage, which is negligible. Q, big change. Starcall, self-healing is getting gutted, as you can see. 60 to 140 to 40 to 80 with a 0.3 ability power scaling instead of a 0.5. The rejuvenation heal she gets when she hits someone with her Q is being cut in half from 5 seconds to 2.5. The mana costs are being increased quite a lot. The bonus movement speed she gets is being decreased. So her Q is a lot weaker, you know, in every single aspect. To make up for that, they are buffing her W. The heal is going up a little bit on higher levels, but obviously this scales with certain items. And then, while Soraka is rejuvenated, so when she hits a Q, she will then reduce the 10% health cost it usually has to heal, from 40% to 100% on rank 5. So it means that if she hits her Q, and she will reach rank 5 of her W, she will no longer damage herself in those 2.5 seconds that the rejuvenation heal is counting. So she can just, at max CDR and max stack rank, she will be able to, I guess, she will be able to push 2 heals out, right, in the late game, which will also be stronger than before. So what does this mean? Obviously, it's going to make top lane Soraka a lot weaker because, her Q is a lot weaker, so it's going to be way more difficult to get through that laning phase. It's also going to make support Soraka weaker because her laning phase will take a hit, definitely. However, if you get into the late game, these changes are actually, Q is like whatever, because in the late game, you are just a heal bot, right? That's just what you do. The ult is not affected. You can still throw out an ultimate for massive healing. Her E is still an AoE silence and everything, right? So that doesn't really change. And when she hits a Q, which is very easy in a team fight, let's be honest, she just puts it down. She will hit something. She can then cast 2 heals without losing health. She only loses mana. So honestly, I mean, yeah, it's going to be harder to lane, and there is going to be some top lane matchups that definitely will crush her, absolutely. But she still isn't gone. Like, she can still be played. If you make it through the laning phase, and in the late game, you're still going to be annoying. She is also not going to be gutted as a support. It's going to be difficult in the laning, or more difficult in the laning phase, but definitely she's still there. So, it's not like she died. Like, Sona is dead in a solo lane. Like, there's no point in playing that. But Soraka is definitely still there. So, I think you will still have to deal with bananas being thrown in your face if you're our top laner. That's just how it is. Silas. Silas getting a base damage buff to his Q. He got reworked and got a lot weaker than before his rework. A lot of Silas mains just stopped playing him. He was just not as good. They buffed him a little bit, and now they give him a little extra buff as well, again, to his Q. He's probably still not as strong as he was before rework, but I mean, it helps him with wave clear. It probably helps his jungle as well a little bit, I guess. But overall, it's still not at the point where he was before his rework. Udyr, he doesn't benefit from Cloud Drake at all, so they're fixing that. Udyr now gets 5% of his global cooldown. That's the time it takes between casting his stances. Yeah, I mean, this doesn't do anything, let's be honest. 5% of his global, which is, I think, 2 seconds to begin with. So you get, like, what, a couple of Cloud Drakes, and then it's going to be 1.6 seconds. I mean, honestly, that's not the buff that Udyr needs to make him good. That's just not gonna do anything. I'm sorry, Udyr players. It's not enough. One big change they're making as well in this patch, they want to make a couple of champions more viable in the jungle. Because they feel like the jungle champion pool is way too narrow. There needs to be more champions. So they picked a handful of champions: Darius, Diana, Garen, Nara, Mordekaiser, Talon, and Zed, and they made a couple of changes to them, to passives and to certain abilities to hopefully make them better at jungling. Obviously, most of these champions, I don't think we will see him in the jungle, let's be honest. But Diana is probably the champion that is that it has the most impact on, because she is a jungler. She's not the best jungler, but she is a pretty decent jungler, and this is actually gonna make her a lot better. So this might push her up a tier and make her see more playtime. All these other champions, maybe a Mordekaiser, but all these other champions, I just don't see them in the jungle. It's not really going to do a whole lot. Let's be honest. What it is going to do though, it's going to help certain champions. It's going to help these champions clear the jungle faster if they're in mid or top, So if you want to steal the enemy's jungle or your own jungle, if your jungler fucking sucks and you just need to carry that game, Talon and Zed will just be able to steal Raptors all the time a lot more efficiently. Obviously, Garen and Darius as well. Garen, by the way, might be one of the niche champions that might be seeing some more playtime in the jungle, because as far as I understood, as soon as you hit rank 2 in your E, with this change to his E, you can just kill an AoE camp with 1 E. But then again, can you see a Garen gank? How does that even look? He's coming out of the jungle and he's like, what? He's running up to you, silences you. I just don't see a lot of playtime for these champions in the jungle. But definitely some of these, like Zed and Talon, are going to be a lot stronger mid lane because they can clear Raptors a lot easier. Yeah, this is... I don't know, I like what they're trying to do, but nah, it's not going to do anything. Some of the follow-up changes, this is already in the game, or this was already in the game. Some hotfixes, as you can see, Yuumi, Lucian, and Akali. Akali is still destroyed, like, I don't know, like she's barely playable. Her win rate is abysmally low. We got a Lucian bug fix, and Yuumi got some hotfix buffs as well on her Q and A. Moving on to the rune changes. Exhaust. Exhaust is one of these runes that doesn't get picked a lot, because other runes are just... sorry, not runes. Summoner spells. Because others are just stronger. There are just stronger picks than Exhaust. They're giving it a nice little buff. The duration goes up from 2.5 to 3. On paper, that doesn't look like a whole lot, but, it actually is quite a decent buff, and it should make it a lot less... you should feel a lot less bad about picking it over some of the other summoner spells that are arguably better. And it now shows how much damage is being reduced, which is a nice little quality of life change. Hail of Blades, they're changing this one. Right now, it's a very niche rune that only gets picked up by like some junglers, for example, because you always have to go out of combat to reset it. And let's be honest, who wants to go it's completely out of combat with everything. So who wants to run away, reset everything, and then come back to deal damage? I mean, that does not make any sense. What they're doing is the time between attacks goes from 2 to 3 seconds, so you have a bigger window. The cooldown goes from 4 seconds out of combat to 8 seconds flat. So you can now stay in combat, and every 8 seconds it will reset. So that's a pretty nice change. Might see more playtime on certain champions. It might be more viable for certain champs now. Yasuo top lane comes to mind. I've heard about that as well on some forums. So let's see how that goes out. Moving on, the Legend runes. Legend runes are one of the strongest in the game. Legend Alacrity, Tenacity, and Bloodline. They're just really strong. What they're doing is the minion kills per stack go from 20 to 25. So basically it will stack slower. Overall, it's still a strong rune, obviously, so it's not going to affect it all too much. But, the stacking is going to be a little bit reduced. So, yeah. Not really too much to say about that. Then, the perfect timing. Perfect timing is being picked a lot by mages and characters that build into an hourglass. By supports that started building into a gargoyle stoneplate. And obviously by the champions that go into the Guardian Angel. So what they're doing is they're granting the stopwatch a similar effect to the boots rune, right? So instead of just after 10 minutes you will be able to activate it, it will now be 14 minutes. But every time you have a takedown, that gets reduced by 2 minutes. So if you have a good laning phase, you can reduce this quite a lot, So if you're stomping the enemy team, you can stomp them even harder and snowball even harder, because all of a sudden you have a 8-minute stopwatch or a 6-minute stopwatch, just like you get the boots earlier if you get takedowns. Magical footwork is the rune called. It's a pretty nice change. I mean, on the other hand though, if you are getting stomped and you might be able at that 10-minute mark to surprise the enemy, because they're like, oh, we're gonna dive these fools, we're gonna kill them, and then, oh, you hit that stopwatch and you end up getting a double kill and turning it around. That's not gonna be possible anymore, right? Because if you don't have any kills or assists, you will have a 14-minute timer on your stopwatch, and by 14 minutes, most of the laning phases are almost over, you know? So, it's a nice change. I kind of like it. So it's good. What they're doing to counter though, it no longer additionally reduces the cooldown of the on use of Guardian Angel, Gargle, Stoneplate, and Zhonya by 15%. That's gone. The stopwatch itself, if you buy it, increased from 600 to 650. Honestly, I mean, 50 gold, that's nothing. It's still going to be League of Stopwatch. It's still going to be multiple people buying a stopwatch in the late game for these last team fights, you know. Because this might be the game-winning fight or game-losing fight. So let's spend my money on a stopwatch. 50 gold is not going to change that, let's be honest. So, yeah. Phase Rush. Pretty big buff. Phase Rush, maximum time between attacks goes from 3 to 4. The movement speed gets from 25% to 40%. But it's increased 30 to 50 for melee champions. So, a pretty big buff. There are not that many melee champions that use Phase Rush. I mean, we might see Phase Rush Darius coming back. You never know. But definitely the maximum time between attacks from 3 to 4 is going to make it a lot stronger. There might be certain champs that will pick the rune up a lot more. And champs like Cassiopeia and definitely Vlad, you know, Vlad already uses it. They're going to be a lot stronger as well with this rune. So Vlad might be a champion you definitely have to ban, and Cassio is going to be a lot better in certain matchups because she can now be a lot faster and a lot, you know, proc it a lot more consistently. So definitely look out for that. It's a lot better, and we might see that Phase Rush Darius running in your face. Prototype Omnistone. I mean, it will no longer give the player Press to Attack or Conquer as their first rune. Let's be honest, this rune is still not good. It's a niche pick. Only a handful of builds utilize this rune. Any other builds, if you pick this, you're just trolling, because there are way better options and you should not be using this at all. So I don't really see this change doing anything. Unflinching, bug fix. Now it properly grants 10% slow resistance per summoner spell on cooldown. So just a little bug fix. Then, the big change. League of Tanks. The tank meta. Balmy Cinder, Cinderhulk, and Sunfire Cape all get an addition to their passive. Every 10 seconds, the next immobilizing ability will deal damage, a flat amount plus a percentage of bonus health, and it will release a fire AoE Nova that deals the same bonus damage additionally around you. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. This definitely will change the meta. It will make certain tanks a lot stronger, absolutely. Shen will be a lot stronger. Ornn, I mean, Ornn is already borderline broken. He's like probably the strongest top laner in the game, or among the strongest. With these changes, he is definitely going to be absolutely, he's going to be banned a lot. He's going to be so strong. He can just tank 20 tower shots and just, you know, it feels like he just doesn't die ever. And with these changes, I mean, his damage, his wave clear, everything is going up. This is also making tank junglers a lot stronger with CC. So, for example, like we talked about Amumu, but also Sejuani, you know, and definitely other Zac, you know. So yeah, we're going to see a lot more tanks and a lot more tanks picking up the Sunfire. Anything that builds health and has a immobilizing effect, CC, like a stun, a root, you know, a snare. So obviously it's not slow stone effectors. It needs to be something that immobilizes the target and makes it unable to move. Which still are... I saw a video that talked about like 30 plus champions that can do that. So there we go. That's going to see a lot of play. So you can just buy a Balmy Cinder for like, what is it, 900 gold? And just only sit on that, and it's going to give you a lot more trading damage. It's going to make your wave clear better. You don't even need to upgrade it. You just spend 900 gold and you sit on a Balmy Cinder, and it's going to make you so much stronger. So definitely this has a big effect on the meta. And yeah, we will see certain champions getting stronger for this, but also certain counters. Like we will see a Kalista, who is a very bad AD carry, but she's very good at kiting tanks. Trundle, obviously, one of the biggest counters to tanks, will be seeing more play, I feel like, because he can be picked against these tanks and counter them pretty hard. Brand, for example, can be very good, so we might see a lot more support Brand or mid lane Brand, because he shreds those tanks with his passive and with building Liandry's, so, you know, that's going to make a big difference. A last thing worth highlighting is how the slow resistance are being calculated. Basically, it's being changed from being multi-applicatively to linearly. So, as an example, instead of two 30% slow resistances being 30 plus 30 is 60, it will now be 51%, because it will be calculated differently. That's the last thing. That will bring us to the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you did, hit me up with a like. Comment down below what you thought about the video. Which champions are you going to ban? Which champions are you going to play? Do you agree, disagree with certain things I said? Do you have any suggestions for me or anything else you want to tell me? Maybe you want to tell me that I'm bald and you hate my beard. I don't care. It will all help me out a lot. As I said, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I want to push out more content like this, and if you hit the bell, you will get notifications if I upload next time. If you want to check out my Discord, my Twitch, my social media, Twitter, Instagram, all the links are down below in the description. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.